What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another episode of The Kingdom Says. I am your host, as always, Garrett Williams, and I am joined by a full crew on screen today. We've got everybody here tonight. We've got Kyle Henning at the top right of the screen. Kyle, how are we doing tonight, sir?
Feeling human after a pretty unfun week for me personally on the health side of things, but feeling moderate human this evening, I guess you could say. Got some good personal news for next week, which I guess I should probably share with you guys earlier, but didn't. But doing all right tonight. Just trying to get somewhat back to normal going into next week.
Heck yeah. Good to hear. Bottom left of the screen, we've got Arrowhead Tom. How we doing, Tom?
Hey, I'm doing great. I haven't run off any professional sports franchises this week, so I am in a pretty good mood. So yeah, we're doing good over here.
Yeah, sounds like it. And then joining us at the bottom right of the screen, we've got Mr. Randy Ellenberger. How we doing, Randy?
Doing good, man. Doing good. It's good to be back. I'm ready to get some fun Chiefs news rolling and ready for spring, getting rid of all the snow up here in the great north. So we actually got more snow in the last week we did all winter long. So
Garrett said, "What's that?"
Yeah,
crazy. Couldn't do it. Could not do it.
But yeah, no, life is good. Life is good up here in Minnesota. So
yeah, it almost hit about like 90 degrees today. It was kind of nice out here in Arizona.
Hey, we hit 60 today. This stuff's melting like crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for the 110s to come back. So I'm just that's me personally. I'm excited for summer.
No, gracias.
Yeah, there's three different people than I on this screen, and
I don't like triple digits in any variety. Yeah. Warm doesn't bother me, but I don't triple digits.
Much different backgrounds us three or y'all three have versus me. So that's
a little more humidity where we are too.
Yeah.
I'm built like a caveman.
It's a little stickier out when it gets hot out here than it is
I'm a little lizard. I'm a lizard out here. I like the sun. I like heat. So, but one thing we all share. Yeah, that too. Yep, that too is also nice. I don't like that humidity.
For the rest of us, the rest of the three of us.
Yeah, that's crazy. You always walk outside.
It's not an
you just walk outside and you're sweating. It's like I couldn't imagine living in that.
Walk inside.
Walk inside.
If I start thinking about temperatures above 70, I start to sweat. So
I start getting up in the morning. Hot. Why is it hot? Inside.
That's not right. Yeah, that is strange. What's not strange is the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah.
Let's get back on track.
Yeah. So the Kansas City Chiefs, right? We got some news to talk about here. There's been a lot actually since the last time that we've spoken. That's gone down in Chiefs Kingdom. So we're gonna go through some of it. Yeah. There's been
go
a
through
decent
the stuff that didn't need to happen but did first.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess I guess both of these first two things were national storylines, pretty heavily. The first one being the Rashee Rice situation. So for those of you who might have not seen, which I'm sure you probably have, but there was a automobile accident in Dallas a couple of days ago involving
that part was not smart.
Yeah, it's involving Corvette and a Lamborghini, one of them owned by Rashee Rice, the other one leased by Rashee Rice. Leased, not rented or owned or anything. Yeah. You're right, Kyle. You're right. They're definitely different things.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like if you own both or have an ownership and a lease agreement on both, I know you're just out with the boys. But if you want to go race them and actually race them, dog, you make enough. There's motors, private. They have places in. I've seen them in Dallas. I've been around. You could go hook it up. I promise. Just be smarter.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, and he'll learn from this. This will be a expensive mistake.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty expensive.
As I can assure you, it's already expensive just judging by who he hired as his attorney. So that's like, the decision was dumb. Everything else he's done since then has been smart. He's been honest. He's been upfront. He's taken responsibility. He's all of the things. After the night of, whatever. Dumb. Everything from that point forward has been well done on his behalf. And at least making the appearance that he understands that this was a mistake and not something that is going to recur. That's at least the feel I've gotten from his actions, behaviors, the things he's done, and his attorney is no joke. So, from that side of things, I think it's going to be an expensive lesson, but I hope it's a good lesson. The NFL will do whatever the NFL does. I'm guessing 2 to 4. Anybody?
Yeah, probably going to be some suspension. Going to be a lot of fines, obviously.
Lifelong ban.
They don't like
detrimental,
don't like bad news storylines, and they had the Henry Ruggs situation. This one, at least, luckily, no one was injured.
Luckily, the fortunate part is, nobody was seriously injured. Nobody lost their lives or anything. So yeah, it's a mistake. He'll learn from it. He'll move on from it. It's going to cost him a pretty penny. But stuff happens. I think it's tough when you give young guys like that just a lot of money.
How old is he? 23.
23.
23. Yeah. So I mean, that's how old I'm turning tomorrow, and it's if I had that much,
I did a lot of dumb at 23 years old. If I would have had
also,
7
happy
figures
birthday,
to play around
Garrett.
with at 23,
I
Jesus.
guess
are we going to sing to Garrett real quick on the podcast? Right?
No, it's not my birthday when we're recording this, so you can't do it.
That's your tradition thing, isn't it, Tom?
We can do it early. We can, by the time it releases,
when this drops, it will
all right,
be
if
on.
you're driving your car, everybody, we're going to sing to Garrett right now together. Ready? All right, I guess not.
Everybody, 1, 2.
There's no chance you're coordinated enough for that. Ain't no way. So yeah, that was the first piece of national news. That was in the news cycle.
That did not need to happen. That did not need to happen.
And then a couple days later, the other piece of national news. And I'm not going to mess this up. Jackson County, not Johnson County. They're very similar names. I don't know why they do that. Jackson County voted no on the Chiefs and Royals essentially stadium proposal tax extension.
They voted no to keep them through 2040. That's what they voted no to.
Yeah, so it's Kyle. Obviously, Kyle's very passionate about this. He knows a lot more about this situation.
It's just insane, frankly. There's a lot of fault on a lot of sides here, but Kansas, the state of Kansas, basically told anybody who would listen, if we get an opportunity at a pro sports team, we're taking it. And
here's a golden opportunity, right, for the taking.
This and you guys and people can subsidize billionaires or this. Look, you subsidize privatized companies all the time in all of your cities. Really do you know? All of them do. All of them do it. Kansas City, Kansas, Wichita, Arizona, Phoenix, all of them. All of them do it. Every city does. This is how business is done in the United States. Now, if you want to pretend that the public sports industry and the entertainment industry should be done differently, that's fine. But one of the smallest markets in the country isn't going to be the one that determines that. And I can tell you right now, when your next door neighbor is just sitting over there going, please do the dumb thing. Please do the dumb thing. Please do the dumb thing. Because if nothing else, all you needed to do with the vote yes there was simply not open the door. That's all it was. Just don't open the door. You got everybody and your mother waiting outside to hand them Brinks trucks full of cash and make this a bidding war and make it expensive. And now you open the door and let the wolves in. I'm sorry, Kansas City, Missouri. I'm sorry, Jackson County and the vote people especially, because they're going to see the ramifications of what happens when those dollars leave. You can talk about bringing new dollars and all the studies that have been done on that, which there's a whole lot of information. I'm not even remotely going down that rabbit hole with y'all on here. If y'all want to talk about that, we can hop in the Discord and have all that conversation. The studies done, it isn't about what they necessarily bring anymore. They brought it 50, 60, 70 years ago. It's been there. It's established. The thing is now, what happens if it leaves? And that's what you voted down. You opened the door now, and it's never going to be cheaper than it was then. Mark Donovan told you, we put together the best plan we think for this area. And they said no? Well, now we have to look at our options. And they weren't kidding. And Kansas is not playing games. They want the Chiefs, and they've wanted them for a while, and they're willing to do what they need to.
They've got the sports betting money.
They set it aside 3 years ago.
So I said this
2.5 years ago. Yeah. Go ahead, Tom.
I was just saying, I tweeted this out just because, like, from a like idealistic, world is fluffy unicorns stand. Sure, I agree, and I agree that like maybe that money could be used for something else. Like, sure, I would love better schools.
But it won't be.
I'm not gonna sit here and argue. Right? I work in a venue of public service, so I will tell you, like, whatever. Ironically, I work on the Kansas side. Where we pay a lot of taxes because we have a lot of things that we get to use from that. Yeah. But so here's my thing. Two, first of all, when you say, that money should be used for something else, well, that money isn't going to be, unless you come up with a plan to create a tax, a 3/8 cents tax for that thing, and then that passes, you're just losing the money. You're losing the benefit of that thing. So to me, it wasn't like
economic benefit and economic revenue drop when you lose those things by voting.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the proposal that the Chiefs put forth was the best, because it was the renovations were kind of uninspiring. The Royals location, their whole operation was a mess from the beginning. They were changing, their heads were spinning from the day of the vote. So they handled things poorly on their end. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like they didn't. That said, like, you aren't from the financial part. They're not asking for more money than you're already paying. It's the same. That's incredible.
They were actually giving money back. They were going to pay for some of the stuff that the county
was 20 years ago. So
and they were going to pay for the variable costs that the county was eating, that was killing them, that was in the crazy numbers that were all over the place, like insurances and all the other stuff that these stadiums have to have, that the county was paying for, that the team hadn't been paying for. The team was going to start paying for those. So it wasn't just that they were giving money back, not on top of not asking for really anything more than you were already paying. Also, like, the dollar amount total was like $167 for the year for the next 30 years. And the people that were the loudest no's aren't even from there.
So here's my other thing, and this is important. This is important because it happened right down I-70. And here's the thing: I grew up. So the town I grew up in was between Chicago and St. Louis. And most of the people I grew up with, most of the people I grew up with were Rams fans. Grew up with the greatest show on turf, all that stuff. I will tell you firsthand that when the Rams left St. Louis, I mean, they were tied up in lawsuits all the way up until just a couple years ago. They have a stadium that has lost sponsorships, that has lost opportunities. Let me just say this. Let me say this. Arrowhead Stadium 10 years from now isn't getting a Taylor Swift Eras Tour, date without the people updating it. You're gonna have two stadiums that are sitting empty that the county is responsible for, that you either have to tear down or figure out what to do with. So,
tear down
again. Not to say it was the best deal on the side of the Chiefs or anything, but you really, really kind of showed a lack of foresight to say, what, I'd rather it's kind of like saying, I'd rather be kicked in the face than punched in the face. Like, I'm not really picking our battles here very well.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. For everybody with the no economic loss, ask the Rams what the lawsuit was for that the city of St. Louis sued them over. Just the title of I know that it's fun to, we shot down the man. It's great. It's awesome.
Stick it to the man.
But if you cut off your nose to spite your own face, what's the point?
Yeah.
It may not have been the perfect plan, but it was a heck of a lot better than what you're going to get an opportunity to deal with now, because you may not even get another chance. They don't have to come back to you now.
Yeah, it really doesn't sound like they're going to.
Doesn't seem like, historically, it doesn't seem like
they don't have to.
They really go back to the plate with the city.
It's not when you do that.
Not like, it's not like you have a lot of bargaining chips, because Kansas City, respectfully, isn't the biggest market, and you've already got other cities, Dallas, going, hey, we'd love to have the Chiefs.
Nashville.
Hey, we'd love to have, Nashville's, hey, we'd love to have the Royals.
The Royals, yeah.
Bigger markets licking their lips. So,
and here's the other part.
San Diego.
Clark has been very nice. Clark has been very good and very nice to Jackson County, and I know that's going to piss a lot of people off. He's cheap. Look, y'all. The Hunt family, maybe not Clark, but the Hunt family has been very, very good for that community for a very long time. They've done a lot. That World Cup you all love and want so much, the KC Current and the KC soccer team, the Sporting KC, those don't exist without that family. Because do you know who the other big funder in the MLS is? It's the Hunt family.
Hunt family.
Huge driving behind that. Lamar was a huge factor in that. Like, you guys,
actually a trophy named after him.
Yeah. I get it. Frank White did a lot of crappy stuff to y'all with your property taxes, but taking it out on his old organizations that also don't like him was not the answer. I don't know what happened. I don't know how you do that.
We've gotten very political. We should. All right. You know what? You know who strangely is in? We gotta go. Hold on. We gotta rile Randy up because he's been too quiet.
I feel bad for my friends that live in KC Mo. I do.
Randy just sitting there instantly.
I feel bad. I feel bad for the people that wanted that to stay.
I'm entertained, but I don't live in the area. I come to visit. I come down for Chiefs games. I have friends who live in Olathe, Kansas. Are they
craziest city name ever?
Are they pretty excited about the opportunity of having the Chiefs come across the border? Absolutely. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't affect me one little bit, other than the fact that I might not get to see games at Arrowhead, and that's the thing that pains my heart. Is that
will suck?
Arrowhead, awesome.
Well,
as a fellow out-of-stater as well,
tickets for season ticket holders.
Very cool to and if Arrowhead has its days numbered, I'll definitely appreciate going to more games to it. But also, probably be pretty cool to fly into Kansas City, Kansas, go check out the Chiefs' new Dome Stadium with a bunch of casinos and a whole development around it. Check out Kansas Speedway, which might be right next to it. See a NASCAR race with Randy, something like that.
Yeah. Trust me, there is
some upside for.
I feel so bad for our friends in Mo. I do. I feel bad for the people that wanted it to stay in Mo. I feel bad.
There's a lot of nice areas on the Kansas side. I live on the Kansas side. I have been out here for about 2 years, and I definitely take more pride in the Kansas side. Like I've thought about which side to live on and all that. And so
Kansas has some good laws too, huh?
Yeah, they're pretty chill.
They're pretty cool. Ass nonsense too, but yes,
they do. Sometimes they can't make up they can't really decide who they want to be, but it's chill, and the roads aren't mostly potholes.
Pretty chill,
at least not in Johnson County.
They do construction 17 months out of the year, but they don't have bad roads.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I can physically tell you when I'm in Missouri because my car starts making this noise.
Hey, there you go. Put your 3/8 sales tax to that, since you're not going to have teams to use it on anymore.
Fix the roads, yeah.
All right. So on that note, let's stop dunking on the entire state. Let's talk about some.
That's all the serious.
Let's talk about some more fun things.
Yeah, let's talk about some signings. The Chiefs have had a couple player signings since the last time we talked about. Going in order here, actually probably the most interesting one, which was the former rugby player Louis Rees-Zammit.
Reese Lightning.
Zammit. Reese, yeah, I refer to him as, we all refer to him as Reese Lightning, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I think that is his official nickname.
LRZ, as his initials kind of lead him to. But yeah, a rugby player who played for, I believe, the Wales rugby team.
Yep.
He's Irish. So apparently a pretty renowned, up and coming rugby player over and across the pond.
23 years old.
Yeah, 23, freaky athlete, absolute freak athlete.
Yeah, keep him out of any Lamborghinis or Corvettes.
Right.
Yeah. Probably doesn't know how to drive over here, because it's right hand. Right road.
I feel like he could figure it out, but
it is pretty trippy. It is pretty trippy going from the switch. I'm just saying, but interesting signing. The Chiefs signing him essentially to be a running back / wide receiver slash kick returner, slash anything really. I mean, just a pure
kicker
athlete.
with a question mark.
Something. Yeah.
Hey y'all, I don't know if you guys have watched rugby or not, but they kick that oblong shaped ball sometimes.
Yeah. Rugby is an interesting sport.
He's pretty good at it. So I would not. Dave Tobe said, "Oh, you guys want to put some rugby scheme, weird, goofy concepts into my kick return stuff? Okay, let me go get this kid. Hold on, I'll be right back."
We're gonna go get a rugby.
Been watching him for 6 years.
Vibrating when they signed him.
Like,
I don't know. As soon as the signing came through, I was like, "Really? Like, what the?" And then,
I did not
expect free roster spot.
You watch the dude's highlights, and you're like,
I mean, he's faster than everybody else on those.
There might be a little something there because the kid is.
He's not afraid of contact.
Strong. He's not afraid of contact.
Yeah.
And legit with the new kickoff rules, it's almost like this kid was like tailor-made, built for something like this. I mean, I was like, all right, you know what? He's going to have some athletic skills that'll be able to translate and help him in the game. But if you go through and you watch a lot of the clips from the IMG Academy where he was training, some of the things that actually jumped out to me was his ability to run routes and separate and catch with his hands naturally. You can watch some guys that you can tell that they're out of position. They fight the ball when it comes in. You know, they double catch a lot. But I mean, the clips that you see is like he's got some natural hands. He's legit fast. He's put together. He's not afraid of contact. Like there might be a little something to this to maybe him being more than just a practice squad body, hoping that he might turn into something. Like the kid's got a legit chance to do something. So it's kind of fun to see.
I think that it's also important to note that his dad played American football. Like I think he was a semi-pro, like overseas or something, in one of their minor leagues. But like he's familiar with the sport of American football. Right. It's not complete, and he's young. Like some of these guys that come over, they're 25, 26, 28, whatever, and they've kind of gone 23. Yeah, he's 23. They've gone through their physical peak, and they've really tailored themselves to be, built for rugby or built for, whatever sports they're playing.
Aussie rules or whatever.
Yeah. So it's there's. I said this way, he's going to be the same age, as some of these rookies coming in. So I look at it as it's almost like a UDFA signing before the draft. Like that's really what it is.
Free roster spot too. Like he doesn't.
Because it's both.
Yeah, because he's a part of the NFL's international player pathway program. So basically, what that means is that he doesn't count towards a 90-man roster spot throughout all of training camp and everything. And then if the Chiefs keep him on the practice squad, he does not count towards one of the 16 practice squad spots. So the only way he actually counts towards the roster is if he makes the 53-man, which is, I mean, for that, there's literally, like, from the Chiefs side, there's literally no risk to it. You have a freak athlete who, has a lot of untapped potential that you can get your hands on, mold him to. They paid him. They paid him a pretty standard free agent contract.
He's probably not going to crack your top 51, if I was guessing.
No, yeah, remember, I think it's a minor. I mean, I don't know. I forget the actual details, but it was a 3-year contract with guaranteed money to it. That is a pretty standard one for UDFAs. Which
during the year he won't hit your 51-man roster cap hit, which is what they calculate cap space off of during the season.
Right. I mean,
throughout your points, it's off your top 51 deals.
Yeah, so it's literally no risk. You have a lot of untapped potential. You can mold this guy into whatever you want him to be. With the new kickoff rules, that's definitely a thing. He could probably do something. I mean, he could do something.
You know who else is drooling?
Sure. Dave Trout.
Travis is like, ooh, laterals.
Yeah.
Like
laterals.
We gotta say rugby laterals are not the same as an NFL lateral.
I know. I tell you, Travis is be like, he's gonna be expecting the ball. He's gonna be expecting it. Watch, I'm gonna throw it at him.
He's gonna be a great pitch relationship. Yeah, he's gonna be in the right spot.
Yeah, people did make a point. I mean, it is good to have an athlete that can just chuck a ball, 20 yards behind him while running. That's what rugby players have to do sometimes. So,
that's pretty.
It's a fun little signing. We'll see what all comes of it. A couple other signings.
Maybe absolutely nothing.
yeah, it might be absolutely nothing, but it sure is fun. Sure is fun in this time of the year to speculate on Reese Lightning out there. Couple other, basically two other notable, basically the only other signings the Chiefs have had. One very nototable one that Randy loves. There is a new backup quarterback in town.
Dude, I have never been so excited about a backup quarterback in my life.
Yeah.
Go Bison. Carson Wentz is a Chief. As soon as I figure out what number that dude is, I'm ordering that baby. I will rock that thing loud and proud, 100%.
You know, the other, I don't know if you've thought about this. The other big positive about Carson Wentz signing with the Chiefs is greatly reduces the chance that they draft Spencer Rattler to be a backup quarterback.
Yep, it does.
I know you're distraught about that, about Spencer Rattler not coming together.
I can't even bring up his name. It just makes me cringe, and I just want to
Hey, that's QB1. Listen, a former NFL scout told me that was QB1.
As a former,
Carson Wentz.
Right.
Former first round pick for the Eagles, obviously. Had really good campaigns his first couple years. Had an MVP type campaign until he tore his ACL or his Achilles or something. The year that the Eagles ended up going to the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. Then he kind of bounced around. Injuries kind of got the best of him. He went to the Colts, the Commanders.
Built Nick Foles a statue out front while he's still there.
They did. So that wasn't the best of endings there. Then bounced around a couple teams with the Rams last year, late in the year as a backup. And so now he gets a little taste of the Andy Reid revitalization course, a la someone who has that statue built of him, Nick Foles, who did a very similar thing.
And he is by far the most talented backup quarterback that we've had since Pat's been in town. In anything is possible. Love Chad Henne. In a pinch, he came and he did the things that he needed to do. I can't stand Blaine Gabbert. When we signed him last year, I was like, seriously,
he wasn't great.
Come on,
wasn't the great.
Thank God we didn't have to lean on Blaine Gabbert for anything substantial, because watch that dude crumble like a terrible cookie. Like, he's terrible.
That probably influenced the Chiefs.
Blaine not coming back. Carson is a substantial upgrade.
No argument there.
And it brings the play back into the playbook that Andy Reid tore out a long time ago after one knee injury. Carson's a big, strong dude. He's a big, strong dude, and we can do quarterback sneaks again if we have to. So,
all right, Carson, he has like one of the best quarterback sneak percentages in the entire NFL, or something like that.
If we can't get him a guy's sponsorship, get him sneaks for snacks or some nonsense like that.
Everybody knows that I'm an NDSU
Handy,
guy.
we'll send you cheese balls if you'll just let Carson run the sneak.
Right. I've worked NDSU camps. I've done some things with Carson in the past. He's an absolutely just outstanding dude to begin with. He's Midwest hardworking. It's a fantastic signing. I was skeptical because it came out April Fool's Day. I was like,
that is tough.
Someone trying to screw with me right now, because I don't really like that. But after I figured out it was legit, man, I was pumped.
Definitely
I've never been so excited about a backup quarterback in my life.
Pretty neat signing, and like we kind of alluded to, definitely the most athletic and highest ceiling backup quarterback that Mahomes has had. And I think Kyle actually made this point on Twitter, where it's like, Mahomes is definitely at the point now where you don't need a safety blanket veteran behind him to, just in case to kind of help him out. Like, you're getting a younger guy who has a high upside, who could, worst case scenario, come in and fill in and play to a higher potential. So it's a good sign. It's going to be very cool.
Carson's not a spring chicken. However, Carson still has far less miles on the tires.
Yeah.
And
for a quarterback,
and that's the other thing is, quarterbacks now, we're watching revitalization careers like Geno Smith and guys like Kirk Cousins who keep getting freaking paid somehow. And
sure does.
Baker Mayfield.
Just different. Baker Mayfield just got paid. There's Russell Wilson. Never mind. That's a bad example. That was a shot. Yes, I'm sorry, didn't I? It's okay. Carson is the first guy that you brought in as a backup where if he plays well in the preseason and somebody's starter goes down, you might flip him for a pick. You weren't flipping Chad Henne for a pick. You were not flipping retired Matt Moore. I love you, Matt, but we were not flipping retired Matt Moore for a sixth grade math teacher. Matt Moore
flipping Gabbert for a Happy Meal. Like,
I'm mad we gave Gabbert a Happy Meal, much like Randy is, but that's another conversation.
Right.
We are no longer. It is no longer time to be in the business of one more $1 million, one more ring stuff. And yes, I said one more ring because Gabbert had a ring some godforsaken way. Oh yeah, we gave it to him. That's right. When Brady won it with him.
Carson also has a ring, turns out.
Yeah, but again, Carson's the first guy that still has a chance to maybe go be a starter somewhere if he shows that, hey, no, really, if you guys actually let me play, I can play. And and it's time to that be the goal for the backup spot versus, oh God, we have to have Old Man River steady the ship in case that rudder goes sideways. You're not. We know now there is no steady. If Patrick is gone, it just looks different. There's no ifs, ands, twats about it. You're not fixing it if he's gone. You're not. So start using that position as extra draft capital and start using it as a development tree to get yourself extra picks to feed Patrick weapons and protection. That's what this should be for now. He's old enough. He's earned it. He's got all the accolades and the credentials. He doesn't need Alex Smith. I love Alex. Alex did great stuff for him. He's not that point in his career anymore. He doesn't need Alex Smith sitting in the locker room holding his hand.
Nope.
Doesn't.
And a high ups and another, worst case scenario, we just get to enjoy a hilarious Carson Wentz experience in the playoffs, which, as we've seen, his play on the field, great guy off the field and great mind, but his play on the field sometimes is a little funny. It's a little funny. It's definitely very entertaining to watch.
A little risky.
I believe he actually, when he was with the Colts, he had a play where he broke or fractured both of his ankles on one play, basically.
He's had some rough luck.
Definitely a tough.
I think the biggest thing with him, and this is where Andy will help. Like, same like that Nick Foles treatment. Like, Carson has all the physical talent, and I know he's had injuries and all that stuff, and that's whatever. But when you watch, like, he went through what he went through in Philadelphia and then bouncing around, like he's playing for Washington at one point. Like, his mentally, this is a chance for him to get right and to salvage his career. And so, I think we're all rooting for him in that sense of like, hey, Andy's going to put you in a position to show off what you can do best. He's going to put you in a position to be successful. If you have to put minutes, like if you have to play minutes, he's going to put faith in you. He's going to give you the opportunity to shine. Like, he's going to put it on your shoulders, just like you were the guy. So, I mean, I think that it's a perfect marriage from the sense of, what Carson is looking for, which is to revitalize his career. And, the Chiefs get a guy who has a lot of talent. So,
and it's great that he's coming in already with time under Doug Peterson. He's going to know a lot of the offensive verbiage. I think he's going to come in, and it's not going to take him a long time to vamp into the playbook and kind of have to hit the ground fresh. He's going to know a lot of the stuff already, so I think he'll pick it up pretty quick. And
which is helpful.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting signing and a pretty exciting one. I think a lot more well received.
I want to ask Randy this. Randy said you said you spent a little bit of time around him, about him.
Mm-hmm.
There were conversations about maybe locker room stuff at a couple of his stops. Were those more about the stops, or were those more about him?
The only thing I can think of is so Carson he's a North Dakota Midwest dude. God first. I mean, his faith is first and foremost over everything. And I just don't think that his lifestyle and his mindset really vibed well in Philly. Like, it's just not the same setting. It's not the same
farm town,
same world. It's completely different. So I think that might have had something to do with it. And I think his maybe uber Christianity at times could maybe rub some people the wrong way or whatever. I mean, he's got his A1
so we have Harrison Butker as the backup.
I was just about to say,
Carson and Harrison are going to be best buddies, man.
Great friends.
They're going to be best buddies.
It's going to drive some people on the old app crazy, but that's great.
But Carson, he's a great dude. He's an absolutely great dude. He's a hardworking dude. And anybody that you talk to that has come across him at NDSU or any other path, like Carson's awesome. He's just
we do have to mention the elephant in the room there. There is one pretty substantial drawback, and that is he is a Bobcat guy, not a John Deere guy. So,
well, Bobcat's huge, especially so. My little town of North Dakota
ain't green, it ain't
is 11 miles away from the next little town that actually the major Bobcat factory is. Of course I am Bobcat. We are Bobcat country in North Dakota for sure.
Okay,
it's built there. It's a little different. It's not his fault. It's not his fault.
It's built in my backyard. It's 11
now
miles.
We know who to excommunicate. Carson Wentz and Randy. They can both go to. Yeah. Okay, so that was the more well-received signing in Chiefs Kingdom. The little more controversial signing, a little more less liked signing was the re-signing of.
Controversial.
Listen, look at the
Is it
Facebook comments, Kyle.
You don't like it?
Look at the Facebook comments, Kyle. I'm just saying.
Never look at the Facebook comments.
I don't ever look at the Facebook comments.
I'm just saying. The reception for Wentz versus the reception for this guy, it was pretty steep. I'm just saying. I don't hate the signing. Listen, okay, so I didn't even say the signing yesterday. Hold on. The Chiefs re-signed Clyde Edwards-Helaire to a 1-year deal. And it was not well received by many people. I'll just say that.
All right. Let's do this then.
Yeah. Do it.
It's what, 1-year deal?
It is a 1-year deal.
It's for like $1 million and some change. It's like one of them vet min deals, isn't it?
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to come in and he's going to pick up the role that he actually fits in. And I think a lot of people are still just pissed off because, I mean, just like I was, he shouldn't have been drafted where he was drafted. We shouldn't have drafted him. We should have drafted someone else. And I think everybody is still pissed off about that. And we're like, all right, he's gone. Contract's done. We didn't pick up the 5th year. He's gone. We don't have to look at his face anymore. Now we re-sign him. And a lot of people are still butthurt and mad about that. But if you sit and you just take and look at the signing for what it is, we have Pacheco, then we have Prince and Pirine, and that's it. So either we go to try to get some vet who's got hardly anything left on the tread. We got 2 unproven guys who spent just a bunch of time on practice squad, or we're going to have to draft a dude, bringing him in as a stopgap veteran backup, which is he played better at the last half of last year than I've seen him play his whole career, basically, and he fits the role for what he's needed right now.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay. All right. Here's the deal. If you have a problem with Clyde, the player now, you need to ask yourself if you actually have a problem with the player in the role he filled on this team last year, or if you have a problem with the fact that they drafted him at pick 32 5 years ago. That's what you have to ask. Because if you're honest with yourselves, you're not mad that they brought him back on a literal 1-year vet min, nobody gives a damn how much money he's making because it ain't nothing deal. He's the most experienced running back in the system. I know that sounds crazy, but he is. He's also gone through a whole bunch of shit. A whole bunch. Whether it be the expectations being set improperly high because of where he was drafted and when he was drafted and what took place and all the conversation around that. Whether it be the awful, and I mean awful injuries. And now that we know the full details of those injuries, because we do know those details now.
Not fun.
He shared that. That's gruesome. That's bad. That sucks. That's bad luck. That happens to guys sometimes.
Yeah.
So he fills a need on this roster. Jerick McKinnon is a very good running back. He's also, we saw it.
31.
Last year was kind of it. It's kind of it.
Probably.
They used it where they could. He did what he could. He
right off into the sunset. Yep.
He kicked his. He gave him when they could that slip screen where he makes the play there when they need it. Like they got what they got out of him. But I think Jet pretty much looked like he knew. They pretty much looked like they knew. Like, and at that point, again, it's Pacheco. Who? Anybody?
Anybody?
Oh,
Well, so they
P. Ryan and that
happened the same day.
Gale Sayers from training camp last year.
Deontay Ingram.
Oh, like come on, guys. Like Clyde fits a role on this team. He got incredibly better in the pass blocking game from when he got there to now. We've talked about it every year. It's and what did we say pass blocking usually is? It's like 85% want to, isn't what EB was quoted as saying? It's mostly want, it's all will, not technique. Technique goes in, and he got better at it because they worked on it, and Jarek helped him. Also, him and Pacheco are really close. Like, really close. Matter of fact, all three of those dudes are really close. Yeah. So, Pacheco's probably pretty happy about having Clyde back in the building, too. So sometimes it's a good thing to bring those. And, yeah, we didn't pick up his option because they weren't paying him $4 million or whatever. But we'll pay you $1.5 million or $2 million.
He wasn't going to get anything better from anybody else. That's for sure.
And that's the other part. If you're him, that's the other part. If you're him and they're willing to have you back for a lesser deal, that's basically they just renegotiated. Think of it this way: they didn't re-sign him. They added his 5th-year option and renegotiated the deal. Now, how do you feel?
Yeah,
probably still mad. Some of you, great, but that's basically the same thing they did. Like
that's my secret.
This is a signing that makes sense.
Yep.
He's been a part of multiple championship runs. He knows what it takes. He's gonna do the work. He's gonna show up, and the whole locker room loves him. Fans may not like him. Everybody else on the outside may not like it. They love that dude. They talk about how much they love him. Travis has been open about that guy. Like, sometimes in the locker room matters as much as on the field. And if you can fill a role and you're good in the locker room and you're willing to play for a certain dollar amount, the Chiefs will keep you.
Yeah.
So they did.
Yeah, and you know the system. You don't have to relearn anything. He's going to fit like he never left. And for the role that he's going to be asked to play, if you're still pissed off about that, it's just because you look at him and you still wish it was Jonathan Taylor, which I ain't gonna lie, I'm still one of those guys. But I've come to the fact that he's not Jonathan Taylor, and I got to stop being mad about that, and I have to accept him for what he is, which is a affordable backup playing a role in a championship team for 1-year contract. Man,
this Carson Wentz signing really has you turned over a new page, Randy. That's the most calm, logical. I've not been able to get you to go.
Randy's changed.
I know. See, I had to clean up and clean up my act a little bit when you started throwing around this Randy's rants idea.
Yeah, he had to let me go lose my mind for 3 episodes in a row now.
Yeah, I was like, well, hold on now.
So yeah, that's basically the signings that the Chiefs have had the past couple. Well, since the last time we talked to you, basically. Outside of that, there hasn't been a whole lot going on. Although there is some a couple pieces of Chiefs adjacent news.
So J.K. Dobbins visited, which I think is something we should talk about, because as much as I do like the addition of Clyde and keeping him in house and keeping that role specific, if you were willing to tell me that after the draft closed up shop, and if they don't necessarily find a kid they love in the draft within that 6th or 7th round range where they are now exclusively picking running backs because Brett Veach was like, yeah, we ain't ever doing that again. So if that's not an available option and Jay is sitting out around on the market at home going, sure would be nice to go prove I'm still able to do this thing off of a couple of weird, crazy injuries, because if he's 85%, yeah, I'm okay.
Yep.
Give him a couple. Give him $1 million and whatever the
when
going vet minimum rate is for injured veteran running back, and let's go from there.
Yeah, when free agency first started and he was on that list, I was like, if we could add Dobbins on a cheap 1, maybe 2-year, prove you can stay healthy, and even if you are like Kyle just said, 85 to 90% of what you were.
Can I interest you in one of these?
That'd be pretty
still a pretty good freaking running back.
Yeah, Hollywood Brown knows he's already started the recruiting pitch.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Dobbins when he was healthy, when he was coming out of that Ohio State, man, he was fun to watch. Like he was a complete back that could do a little bit of everything, and he was explosive. He could catch, he could block. I mean, if you just look at the stats that he has on the actual touches and his actual numbers, like when he's healthy.
Yeah.
And that's just the one caveat. That's
just the one. That's always the caveat.
The injury, bad luck bug has just bit that dude in the ass, and he couldn't get away from it. I mean, if you get him in on just a 1 year, cheap as hell, prove you can stay healthy,
get a ring, get paid somewhere else deal.
For sure.
Exactly. Have a 1 year prove it deal and get bounced back. Yeah.
Absolutely. Big.
Yeah, and I think part of probably the CEH reception was the fact that J.K. Dobbins visited the Chiefs earlier that day, and then they signed Clyde later that day.
I'm betting J.K. was in the building for medicals. I'd be betting. Yeah. I'd be betting they had him in to do their own eval on his injuries and everything, and say, "All right."
Clyde's agent woke up and said, "Who's in the? Hold on, 1 minute.
6-7 months off.
Yeah, we'll take the deal."
Right? I think he's only like 5.5, 6 months off of that.
6 months off of Achilles. I mean, so he may be medically cleared to do football type things, but you still got to work that thing back.
Per reports around the situation, there was some reports that came out that said that they'll keep that communication line open, and there's definitely a decent chance. After the draft, if they don't end up adding anybody else, that they probably end up going back to that. And, it makes sense for JK. It makes sense for the Chiefs.
Put him on the pup list to start the year and pull him off in week 8 or whatever.
Yeah, however you got to go about it. That is that. Some other notable NFL news that's Chiefs adjacent for a pretty funny reason. So the Buffalo Bills traded away Stephon Diggs to the Houston Texans for a 2025 second-round pick, and also the Bills giving up a fifth next year and a sixth this year.
Yeah, everyone's like, "Oh, they got a second for Diggs." I'm like, "No, they got a second for Diggs and 2 draft picks. That's not the same thing."
Yeah, and also forfeiting that huge salary. I believe Buffalo has like $30 million in dead money this year, just to have Diggs not be on the team. Yeah, so that's a lot to give up to just not have a guy on your team anymore. So that's very telling about that situation.
$31 million. Holy crap!
As far as the Texans, they get him. They also rip up his contract and move some money, so that's a 1 year deal. So he hits free agency next year instead of having the last couple years on his deal. Yeah. Very interesting situation from that side. We're not really here to analyze that.
Texans said contract years undefeated. Go get it, bud.
Apparently, the Chiefs adjacent reason is there's reports that came out, I believe, from Chris Sims with NBC, who said that the Bills allowed Diggs to seek a trade with any of the NFL teams, anybody except for the Kansas City Chiefs. That was the one team.
We have hit our ultra villain.
Yeah. So that now makes the second player this offseason who has been denied
second wide receiver.
Yeah. You guys can go play anywhere you want except
so the Steelers Deontay Johnson had the same situation where it was reported that the Steelers would not deal him to the Chiefs, and now the same thing with the Bills, which is absolutely hilarious. And it's funny to think that those futile attempts will mean anything. But yeah, you're really sticking it to us. You really are sticking it to us. Trade him away for a bag of peanuts and $30 million or $31 million in dead cap.
The Buffalo Bills have no one left, by the way.
Yeah. Good luck, Josh. We're gonna see. We're gonna see how Josh does. Obviously, this conversation that we had about Mahomes after they traded away Tyreek, but I think it's gonna be a little different situation.
Away Tyreek. They cut the whole defense and got rid of both of his wide receivers.
That's a little
Bills
more substantial.
Are in deep trouble.
That is a little more substantial.
It's gonna be tough over there in Buffalo for a minute.
I feel bad for Josh. Yeah. Honestly, because Josh is now sitting over there like Will Smith at the end of the Fresh Prince episodes going, guys?
Yeah, and they didn't even tell Josh Allen that they were going to trade Stephon Diggs. So Josh Allen woke up happy as could be and looked at his phone and saw that his number one target was traded to the Texans. Ain't that crazy? That is life, and that is the NFL for you.
Right, yeah.
The window closes fast in this league on a lot of teams. And
it sure
the
does.
Buffalo Bills found that out the really hard way. If you make 1 or 2 wrong contract decisions, Von Miller, amongst a couple of others, it will cost you long term. And you better win when you have the chance, because if you miss even a little, it can go very bad very fast, especially with prima donna wide receivers.
Yeah. So that's going to be something to monitor.
By the way, Stephon Diggs was literally talking trash on Twitter the morning he got traded about how
basically. Yeah, it's like, okay, nice. He knew this was coming. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Hopefully the Texans.
We get it now, right?
That's a headache that Houston can have. I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we get it now, right? We understand. We had this conversation when they won the bowl this year, and we've had it a few months prior, and we've kind of talked about it. But you guys understand, the NFL has now told us, no, you're the villain. You're the big bad wolf on the block.
We're the bad guys.
Nobody wants to play. Nobody in the AFC wants to do anything with you if they can avoid it.
Yeah, nobody wants to play ball with you.
Nope.
Look, man,
it's a great time. It's a great time.
This is why you have to. This is the conversations that become important about, like the backup quarterback conversation with Carson Wentz and some of the other moves that they make that are more backroom, subtle, kind of not mainstream stuff that they do, because they got to generate extra roster. The Louis Rees-Zammit side, they got to generate extra picks. They got to generate extra talent. They got to generate extra roster because they're not getting help from anybody else.
Yeah.
Nobody is trying to help them.
Mm-hmm.
Not even their own citizens.
Yeah.
In their own city with their own stadium. But that's a separate conversation.
I'll say one person who was trying to help the Chiefs, and this was some reported news today. I don't know if you guys saw this one. Pretty crazy breaking news. Chiefsaholic was ordered by a judge.
God, I saw that judgment.
Ordered by a judge to pay $10.8 million in damages to an Oklahoma bank teller. $10.8, old Xavier Barber.
And that's just the one bank teller. I bet there's more judgments coming.
Yeah. So I mean, he was doing his best to give Arrowhead.
Can we just not associate that guy with us anymore whatsoever?
Oh, we don't. He's the walking joke.
Yeah. But it is pretty funny. It is. I'm just saying he was.
I saw the number. I saw the number and I was like, "Holy wow!"
He sure was contributing some money.
Chiefsaholic and X Factor can go kick rocks somewhere else. I don't.
Yeah.
They should probably just hang out together in the same cell.
I would say we probably shouldn't encourage X Factor to be around rocks, but.
Yep. Probably right. You're probably right.
Yeah, that's a good point. On another note, what does this look like now? Because we were just talking about, and this is kind of the transition in before we get out of here. I just talked about generating extra picks and generating extra talent and maximizing those things. Last few years, Brett Veach has tap danced all over everybody in the draft after a interesting first draft after he took over, which kind of to be expected when you're a rookie doing it for the first time. It's not going to go well.
First time jitters, you're going to miss some.
But largely, he's been the best GM in the league for the past 4 or 5 years now. And it largely has to do with his success finding and maximizing additional talent in the draft, and especially later in the draft and at the UDFA rounds. So, that in mind, we've got a lot of draft prospect talk. I've thrown out some guys while I've been on the mend the last few days that I've been interested to hear about. There's got to be some guys in these mid-rounds from some of these positions because you're not going to be able to address all your main needs on day one. You can't draft 3 positions at one pick. It's physically not possible. So,
want to bet?
Well, they tried with the rugby kid, but I don't know that it's going to work. We'll find out. That said, where's the sweet spot in this draft? Because we talk about, we listen to GMs talk about the draft. Where's the sweet spot in this draft for you guys? Because I know every draft has a different sweet spot. Some drafts, it's the top 25 guys. When they're really light drafts, it's the top 25 guys. Some drafts, like I think Brett talked about it last year, the sweet spot in the draft was that pick like 35 through like pick like 88 or 90 is where they wanted to really target and try to get as many picks as they could in. Where's that? Because this is how the draft works. Where is that zone for you guys this year? Where's the sweet spot?
I honestly think it's very similar to that mid 30s to that 80 range, because in the positions that we typically see a lot of our mock drafts and guys talking about us taking wide receiver and tackle. I think both of those positions are incredibly deep, but they're also incredibly top heavy. So, in conversations I've had with Tom, with Recon and, talking with Tom and Josh and some other guys, it's like, if we want to tackle, I think we have to go tackle early or we have to wait. You can't, if you want a really good tackle, you're going to have to get him towards the end of that first round. It's kind of the cutoff to where I think you wait. If you don't get him in the first, you wait to the third or the fourth.
Yeah.
Type range. So if you take the tackle early, there is a plethora of wide receivers in that second and third round that can still be really, really good that aren't that top tier 5-6 guys. Yeah. There's a lot of talent in that second and third round when it comes to wide receivers, which I think, as Tom and I talk quite a bit now, is like I am leaning more towards the idea of us going tackle first. I mean, it's super important. We have Wanye.
Yeah.
And that's it. So we need at least to add competition for that left tackle spot, if not to get a guy to come in and start right away. I'm not 100% sure if we can do that at 32 and get that guy that starts right away, but it's still a pretty good couple of really good prospects there at 32 that I like for tackle. But I really do think that sweet spot is that second and third round for wide receivers, even defensive tackles.
Secondary pretty deep. You got some secondary options.
Yep.
Tom, on that note,
well, I think
with Randy kind of talking about the wide receiver groups and how that depth there, that there might be a bunch of wide receivers through there in that second and third round range.
Mm-hmm.
There's a limit of team needs on those eventually, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't necessarily find your guy in that range right there at the wide receiver, some of those guys could fall down boards because there's so many of them, right? Like some of those dudes could easily end up in the fourth round when they probably shouldn't have gone that far down the board, but they did because there's just so many good wide receivers available.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, so to build on what Randy said, so when you look at this draft class, it is pretty top heavy and it's very offense heavy all throughout. So defensively, it's not a great class. So one, there may be a chance to get some valuable defenders at the end of round one. I think that and Daniel Jeremiah said this in the Move the Sticks podcast I listened to today. Literally word for word, he said, is the feeling around the league is if you want to tackle this year, you have to get him early. You get him in the first. You don't wait on the tackle. There's about 7 or 8 guys who are going to go in those first probably 40, 45 picks. And then the drop off after that is pretty huge. So that's something to keep in mind. The other thing that we just talked about in terms of I know some people are like, oh, you could trade up for trade up. One, the Chiefs don't have a ton of extra picks this year and also can't really afford to trade up. And they're probably going to run into the same problem they ran into last year. If you remember when they were trying to move up and nobody wants to help the Chiefs. Nobody wants to pick up the phone. Nobody wants
all
to
those things
Buffalo.
we just talked about a few minutes ago where I said we need to generate extra draft picks because nobody's going to help you.
Yeah. Well, now they're not. Nobody wants to be. It's not. So it was New England, but they don't want to have the situation where they let Kansas City trade up and grab the next Trent McDuffie, right?
Which is what happened with New England. Literally, exactly. They were the team we traded.
Literally,
what did that? And, And what does Buffalo do right behind him? Oh, look, who's Kyrie Elam? How's he doing? That's right. Sorry, Buffalo. Actually, not that sorry.
Sorry.
I would say, and I've pushed this out there in a couple mock drafts that I've done recently, and I think it'll be a similar approach to what they did last year, where we see them sit pat at 32. In fact, it wouldn't even surprise me if they have a small if there's a chance for a small move down, into the 30, into the 40s or whatever, and then you come back and you move back up in that second round where it's a little bit cheaper to move up. You find a team like I think Cleveland's doesn't have a ton of picks this year. You offer them some picks to say, hey, I'll give you our second and a fourth rounder to come pop back up into just outside that top 50 and grab a guy who kind of fell out of there. And then you can grab another one of those receivers, or you can grab a guard, or you can grab, kind of whatever position that you need to. So, the other part is it's the tackle part that worries me most. This receiver class is phenomenal. I mean, we have guys that I'll say it this way: if you combined this year's class with last year's class, the top guy in last year's class, I'm trying to think of who this was, isn't even going to be. It probably isn't even wide receiver 5.
I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigga, right?
Yeah, 5, 6.
I mean, like
JSN or Zay
Flowers. I think easily Marvin Harrison. Yeah, all those three. The big three would go. Brian Thomas, I would take before him. Like it'd be pretty close between him.
Probably see Worthy go before him too, just from the burner perspective.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about Xavier Worthy while Garrett's present. Because
that wasn't bait or anything, Tom.
Future Chief. You
preserve our friendship.
Speak very kindly about future Chief Xavier Worthy. I'm just saying.
I just don't know that he'll be there, Garrett, is your problem.
Yeah, I don't know. Chiefs will be at 32. They might just trade up above the Bills again. Who knows?
Because that means the Chiefs will be a real player at 32.
I'm just saying, if not when, or when not if, when not if.
And Garrett may be right. Even if they don't draft him, he may still be a Chief.
When not if he's a Chief.
Done that before.
I will be taking all your guys' jersey sizes. We'll all be rocking Xavier Worthy jerseys on the pod afterward, and we'll be having a great time. All right, it'll be a great time. But I think wide receiver is obviously a very stacked position in this class, so much so that you can easily find some good value day 2 and day 3. I really also like the defensive tackle class. I think that's going to be a really crucial one, and even like interior guard and some of those. So like tackle, obviously it's not as high on my priority list, just because of mostly just strictly what the Chiefs have said themselves about Wanye and how they feel about him. I could see them bringing in a veteran, but I don't know if they're going to draft a guy super high just to go over Wanye. Kind of seems like a waste of a third-round pick.
And then they drafted Wanye.
Yeah, it seems like, I don't know, it would just seem like kind of a waste pick on Wanye, just in my opinion. But never say never. But in those later rounds, getting some more developmental linemen, I think will be pretty crucial and critical. Pretty cool.
So, God forbid they don't go tackle in the first. Who are the tackles in the fourth? Tom and Randy. Who's your tackle in the fourth?
I'm sure you probably each have a different.
In the fourth round.
Well, that's what you said. You said if you don't get them in the first, you got to wait till like the fourth. Those were y'all's words, not mine. So, who are the tackles in the fourth?
The Washington guy.
If I was to say, I think Rosengarten has done enough to maybe move himself up into that late 2, early 3.
Yeah, he's going to go day 2.
Guys that I would probably maybe look at in that 4th round. I mean, Christian Jones from Texas comes to mind. Foster from Missouri would be stupid. Wow, my computer
doing things,
making random
noises,
popping up and making noise, but. Guys like Garrett Greenfield out of South Dakota State, I think would be an absolute steal in like that 4th round. Just a couple guys that kind of come, Blake Fisher, Notre Dame might be a 3rd rounder. Matt Conclaves from Pitt. Those some guys that kind of just pop up for that 3rd, 4th round range.
I like Blake, but I'm biased. I would be happy with him in the late 3rd, early 4th. It wouldn't bother me any.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still think there's some enough talent in the tackle class that you can get a guy who can, especially pair him with Andy Heck and this offensive line.
I'm still waiting for Tom's answer.
Yeah, put him next to Joe Tooney.
Tom was berated on Twitter by people earlier this week about not taking the tackle in the 1st round. So I'm curious to Tom's answer if he's forced to take a tackle in that later 3rd or 4th round range, who it would be, and not able to go after his 1st round.
If I'm forced to take a tackle on. All right, so day 2.
End of day 2 or beginning of day 3.
We'll
either
see
that last
Kieran,
pick in the 3rd or the 4th round pick.
Yeah. We'll see where Kieran Amegadji. I think that's
close. We got it. We understand.
The kid from Yale. He's come back from a pretty big injury. Pretty raw.
Yeah.
Yeah. him on day 2 wouldn't upset me. If you're looking at like who can I draft and realistically come in and like compete, Christian Jones.
Somebody to push Wanye. Somebody to push Wanye and make him earn that starting job. Yes.
Yeah, Christian Jones is probably the only guy that I would say I would put in that same tier. If you want a guy who's developmental and just for the sake of like flexing a fun draft prospect that I don't feel like people talk a lot about, but Aneem Dankwa, who goes to who's a graduate from Howard, originally from Ontario, Canada.
I believe you.
6'8", 353 pounds, 35 and an 1/8-inch arm. Put up 24 reps on the bench press. What was that?
6'8".
What was the arm length? What was that?
35 and an
yeah,
1/8.
that'll play. Those will talk. That'll work.
So,
it's pretty good.
But yeah, 24 on the bench press. Just raw, massive human being. Slap him in there.
What, 3,
I mean, that's probably a UDFA guy, but
gotta be high threes,
I want to
right?
give him a shout out to
6'8",
Howard.
353.
Yeah, that's a good size. That'll work.
It's good size.
It's a large human.
Played at Howard.
Yeah, Howard.
So he's smart.
And he's
we
Canadian.
Know that.
Yeah.
He's Canadian.
Is he a doctor? Is he a doctor? If he's a doctor, he's a chief. Because they love Canadian doctor offensive linemen.
There's also some guy from the same university as LDT, I think, that the Chiefs had on a visit or something I saw.
Was
McGill, there? I think he's more of a guard. I'm trying to remember his name.
There was something.
I don't know, Garrett. You want to wrap with that? You want to wrap with names that jumped out on Charles's top 30 visit list? Is that what we should wrap this whole?
Yeah, let's wrap that with that list that I have handy. Which is I got the list. I found it.
Can you share the list? Because I couldn't find the list.
I have the list. Yeah,
I'm gonna ask for the list live on the show.
Yeah, I will put the list live on the show in the private chat live on the show.
Which is a good.
So they have
Charles.
They've had a couple reported visits. This one, that specific article linking is Michael Hall Jr., the defensive tackle out of Ohio State. They've also had Anthony Gold, wide receiver out of Oregon State, Marshawn Nealand, defensive end out of Western Michigan, Christian Mahogany, guard out of Boston College, Javon Baker, wide receiver out of UCF, Christian Boyd, defensive tackle out of
one of my dudes. I like that guy.
Rasheen Ali, running back from Marshall, Kingsley Sua-Matia from BYU, the tackle, and then Furman, offensive line, Jake Johanning. I don't know if that's the same guy that I was talking about. And then also Kansas State tight end Ben Sinat. So pretty in line with the positions that we kind of referred to as, and a lot of those guys probably more of day 2, late day 2, day 3 names that the Chiefs are getting a better look at.
Smoke screen more than an actual guy there, Tom or Randy? Because I think there's a couple for me.
Generally speaking, their top 30 visits they use to do. I don't know if I'd call them smoke screens. Anthony Gold is pretty small. He'd be very much a return guy.
He's a return specialist.
Yeah.
Mahogany, I don't think.
Great name.
I mean, he's a good player. I think he's going to go in the second round. I don't foresee us spending a second round pick on an interior offensive lineman at this point. And
Marshawn Nealand, I think, is a name to know that I think Spags will really like. And then I'm a huge Javon Baker fan.
I like Baker. Baker's a solid.
I like Michael Hall, but I don't think they actually like Michael Hall. I like Michael Hall. I would be fine with Michael Hall in Kansas City. I don't think they would like Michael Hall in Kansas City because I don't think he fits what they traditionally do there. So that was just an odd name for me.
I think he's also kind of more Chris Jonesy as far as the positions that he kind of plays. I don't know if you necessarily need him to. I think he needs a complement to Chris Jones, not just another kind of Chris Jonesy guy. That's why Christian Boyd kind of makes a little more sense. The North Illinois defensive tackle.
He's a dog.
Northern Iowa.
He's a dog.
And see, I like
Iowa.
Christian Boyd. Also,
I like Marshawn a lot.
Dang.
Was it Blue Springs? He's a Kansas City kid. I think he was either Lee Summit or where did he play high school at?
Christian Boyd.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Who was it? Sorry. Yeah,
Christian Boyd.
He was. It was KC, somewhere in KC.
Blue Springs,
Blue
Missouri.
Springs. Yeah,
Blue Springs.
That's it. So yeah, he's a local kid, like you said.
Yeah, he's definitely 317, and he's just tenacious.
Tenacious.
Yeah. Well, the name. So two names that stand out. Two of my guys, and I think Randy likes these guys too. Well, I know Randy likes one of them, and that's Kansas State, Ben Sinnott. We've talked about him. Man, so much fun from an athletic standpoint, and just would be that's a guy that like you just, I don't care. I mean, anytime day 3, just take him, just grab him. I think he's
learning from Travis Kelce would not hurt him at all.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, no, and he's not. He's going to take a while. If you're not familiar with Ben Sinnott's story, look him up, get to know the kid. Walk on at K-State, has just busted his tail, but then came to the combine and put on a show. And has been he's a tweener. He's kind of positionless, kind of that like H-back, fullback, tight end hybrid that they could use. Not going to be the best blocker, but he's willing to put his face mask in there. And then the one tackle, Kingsley Suamataia, that's my guy. Like if we're at 32 and everybody else is gone, like he's probably the most realistic. I know some people talk about, and Randy, you and I think will agree, like you get into the Tyler Guyton. I think for me, if I'm taking a tackle on like tools and projection, I'm going to take Kingsley before I take Guyton.
Oh, 100%. Without a doubt.
I think Kingsley carries.
I saw Guyton visited with the Bears with the Caleb Williams dinner party, and that's crazy.
See, and
I Garrett see that?
Talked about this
Tyler Guyton visited.
I was like, I don't understand in what world Tyler Guyton could possibly be considered a top 10 draft pick.
Yeah, they got to look at that.
If you look at him and his height, weight, measurables, sure. But then you do any kind of digging whatsoever, and he's got 14 starts over 2 seasons. He hasn't played more than 10 games in either of the last 2 seasons. He doesn't have the experience, the body of work, or the consistency to warrant a first-round pick or a top 10 pick. What he is a project. He's got potential. Those guys you draft in the 3rd, 4th round.
Mm-hmm. I was just surprised he was at dinner with Caleb
body of work. See that I read that too, and I was like,
"What?
Like
they pick at like 10 too, don't they? They have pick 1 and then they pick again at like 9 or 10, don't they?
9. Yeah.
There's
no way.
Yeah, it would have to be a theoretical trade back scenario, maybe looking at him for a day 2 pick or something, but
maybe there's no possible way in this world that is worth a number 9 pick. It's just not. No,
like that's Joe Alt range.
Yeah, Joe. Yeah, Joe Alt. I mean, come on.
Like that might be where Joe goes. Is like 8 or 9.
If someone picks Guyton over Fuaga or a Fashanu or
Fashanu or
anybody,
Mims maybe.
Like the dude needs to be fired. Like,
yeah. So with that's
just silly. That's
really that's a good way to wrap. I think. Basically, some of the needs that the Chiefs have been reflected with their visits. Obviously, we've still got a little under a month till the draft, so there will be more visits and there will be more moves to talk about. So obviously, we've got a lot more draft content coming your way very, very soon. Kingdom Recon's always pumping out stuff, and then we'll also do a lot more, probably more in-depth like prospect position rankings and stuff like that on this show. All leading up to our mock draft warfare event that is going on. Which we'll have more details on very soon. Very soon.
And go get entered in the giveaway that's still going on with Corey.
Yeah. Head over to our Twitter, check out the giveaway that's still going on over there. You got until April 8th, which is a couple more days till that one ends. So definitely check that out. Be sure to follow us on all of our socials at Kingdom Says Pod, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Apple Music and Spotify. And we will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.